It's been both destructive and just what the state needed. The storm event that's ripped through New South Wales has delivered the news we've been waiting for. All bushfires across the state should be out by the end of the week. But it's come at a huge cost. The insurance industry has declared the event a catastrophe, with claims in excess of $45 million. The SES attended more than 2,500 jobs overnight. Since Friday, almost 400 millimetres of rain has fallen in Sydney, pushing dam levels up significantly. And the Gospers Mountain mega blaze is one of 7 fires declared extinguished.
Normally, the staff at this Milperra bait and tackle shop would be giving tips for the best spot for a fish. But overnight, the fishing came to them.
Get a rod and get some worms outside and you can go for it. Catch a few fish across the road. There's mud all through the back. It's lifted everything through the storeroom in there, just thrown it up. Freezers were upside down.
The area was ordered to evacuate as the Georges River peaked in the early hours of the morning. This petrol station was inundated.
It happened about 3 years ago, but it was a lot worse than this. But, you know, what do you do? It's life. It's Australia. Live with it.
Fire and Rescue New South Wales has received more than 15,000 000 calls since Saturday afternoon.
The number of calls that we received in the peak period was actually almost double that we were receiving at the worst of the bushfires.
Tens of thousands are still without power, and it'll take days to get everyone back online. A family, including 4 children, were taken to Liverpool Hospital for carbon monoxide poisoning, prompting a public warning not to use generators inside. Sydney's public transport system succumbed to the poor weather.
Probably took about twice as long, and I'm already not a big fan of catching the train from Ashfield to Town Hall.
It was very frustrating. I'm late for work.
In Sydney's northwest, Ashley Glennie's family ignored evacuation orders around the Hawkesbury River to make sure their polo horses were safe.
My dad was very calm about it. So, I was very, very nervous for the horses as well, but we ended up okay.
In Windsor, the old bridge was completely inundated, a mass of debris, the only sign it was still there. Meanwhile, water lapped at the bottom of the new bridge. With the Windsor, Richmond and Yarramundi bridges all underwater, people who would normally just drive a few minutes across the river are now either stuck here or have to detour a couple of hours into the Blue Mountains to get home.
We were coming back yesterday over the weekend, and the bridge was shut about 15 minutes before we came through. And luckily my parents are this side, so we were able to stay there.
Among the chaos, there was relief. The monster Gospers Mountain fire was extinguished by the rain, and 17 fires still burning are expected to be out by the end of the week. And for farmers, the liquid gold was a reprieve from the unrelenting drought.
Over the weekend, we've measured 14 mils, and hopefully we'll snag a shower or two over the next couple of days to help that number rise a bit.
And they'll always welcome more. Kathleen Calderwood, ABC News.
Safe to say I didn't make it.
It's the soaking Canberra has been waiting for. Motorists negotiated puddles, and stormwater channels flowed freely after more than 50 millimetres fell overnight. It was precarious for some.
Come on, little girl.
This swan protecting her eggs in rising waters at Kingston foreshore. It was officially Canberra's wettest February day on record. Unofficially, rain gauges across Canberra filled up, and rural areas also got a good drink. Crucially, it was clouds and not smoke above the Namadgi National Park.
We've received about 80 to 100 millimetres across the fire line.
The Aurora Valley fire won't be declared extinguished for some weeks, but last night's soaking has put out the flames and removed the fire threat.
We have a lot of kilometres of burnt edge that we now need to get in and undertake suppression of individual identified hotspots.
For those working tirelessly on the fire, the rain takes a weight off their shoulders.
Without exception, everyone in the room, there was a sense of relief. We saw that we actually were getting on top.
And there's more rain on the radar.
So we are expecting thunderstorms to pop up every day over eastern New South Wales this week.
The Weather Bureau says Canberrans can expect the soaking rain to continue throughout the week. Tom Maddox, ABC News, Canberra.
This is the muddy aftermath of a terrifying morning. As flash flooding hit Dalby, Mike Grove woke before dawn to screaming.
I didn't know what was happening. I heard water.
His son had been asleep downstairs.
And I got him and his cat up. And we waded through the water and I was lucky to get my car out.
The biggest flood since 2013 took them totally by surprise.
No warning. I was up at 12 o'clock and the creek still looked normal.
He lost furniture, tools, 5 motorbikes and 2 cars. Swiftwater rescue crews were called out 32 times over the weekend across southern Queensland. Stephen Millard helped rescue 2 young girls who were playing in the torrent.
Threw the rope to them and got them out.
The falls have been music to the ears of farmers.
Just magic. There's no better sound, and looking out the front gate and seeing all the water, it's just incredible.
Derek Mickleborough has had 213 millimetres since the new year. Not the best timing for summer crops, but a big help for the winter.
Compared to last year, where we had 171, it's been great.
Whopper Dam on the Sunshine Coast is at 102% capacity. No such luck closer to Brisbane. The rain's skirting the Wivenhoe and Somerset Dam catchment, so far boosting capacity by just 2%. But more rain is likely with storms forecast.
Potential of heavy rainfall still to come, which may top up some of those rivers.
The wild weather has whipped up swells on the Gold Coast.
Yes, it's a bit aggressive.
Dangerous conditions for all but experienced surfers.
Well, it was fantastic. It just kept getting better and better.
Emma Pollard, ABC News.
Wild seas have caused more erosion on Sydney's northern beaches. Reporter Mark Reddy is at Collaroy Beach. Mark, what's the concern there tonight?
Well, Anita, the damage hasn't been too bad, but the beach was covered in a thick layer of sea foam this morning. In terms of coastal erosion, up to 25 metres of beach was swept away by huge waves generated by this powerful storm which pounded the coastline between Collaroy and Narrabeen. Combined with abnormally high tides and the threat of further storm activity, it's an anxious wait for many of these residents holed up in their beachside properties tonight. You can see the ocean is getting closer and closer to their backyards. The fear is that there will be a repeat of 2016 when the ocean made it to the backyards and dislodged a swimming pool. In terms of SES call-outs, there are currently 2,800 call-outs still unattended to. The SES says it's working to clear the backlog, and the advice to affected residents is to remain patient. They will get to you. Juanita?
Mark Reddy reporting there from Collaroy Beach. From one natural disaster to another, devastated by bushfire just a month ago, Lake Conjola on the south coast is now contending with floods. The town received 130 millimetres of rain, and that combined with a king tide to inundate low-lying areas. It's another blow to a community still trying to get back on its feet. ABC Illawarra's Jessica Clifford reports.
Lake Conjola hasn't been able to catch a break.
We've had now the double whammy. First we've had the fires, now we've got the floods.
Residents started evacuating in the early hours of the morning, grabbing whatever they could find. It's hard to believe this is the same area where hot, dry winds pushed flames to the lake's edge, forcing people into the water only a matter of weeks ago.
Some of the people actually that have lost their houses and so forth up the top end of Conjola and also down here have actually been relocated into houses which are now being water impacted upon.
There is a view here that the flooding wouldn't have been so bad if the local council had used earth-moving equipment to open up the lake based on the forecast.
It was clear as the hand in front of you, and yet nobody would do anything.
But the council has defended its handling of the emergency.
I was told last night by the flood experts that it just wasn't possible because the sea conditions were just too bad.
This is an area that depends on tourism. With the bushfire recovery effort still in its infancy, locals now have the added worry of what this flooding will do to the water quality in the lake. But some residents fear it could be too late.
This is actually a piece of paradise on earth. This is paradise lost.
A community facing another big hurdle, still managing to find a way through. Jessica Clifford, ABC News, Lake Conjola.
So what does all that weekend rain mean for our state's water supply? Turns out a whole year's worth of water has poured into dams, exceeding all expectations. But the Premier says it's too soon to talk about lifting water restrictions.
What a difference a weekend makes, from a state in drought to this. On Friday, storage levels at Warragamba Dam were down at 40%. By this morning, they'd risen to 63%. Water New South Wales says they could reach as high as 70%. Woronora Dam near the Sutherland Shire has jumped from 34% to almost 60%. The Blue Mountains dams are up from 60% to 93%. 3 dams, Nepean, Fitzroy Falls and Tallawa, have reached 100% capacity, and there's even a chance they may spill over. But the government says it's not the time to talk about ending water restrictions.
Look, it's too soon for us to even think about that at this stage.
Large parts of the catchment around Warragamba Dam were burnt in the bushfires. There's concern that the runoff could be contaminated.
The advice I've received is that we've taken preemptive actions to protect the water supply, to protect the purity of the water supply, and I'm confident that's happened.
Water New South Wales says if necessary, the dam could be closed off for a while to allow any contaminants to settle. And there's no change of heart on expanding Sydney's desalination plant. The government says it's focused on ensuring water security into the future. Ursula Malone, ABC News, Sydney.
Well, flood-impacted areas might be hoping for a couple of days to dry out, but the weather isn't going to oblige, Graham.
No, it's not, Juanita. We've got an extremely unstable atmosphere across New South Wales at the moment, and this inland trough is actually set to move further east in the coming days. This means more showers and thunderstorms. We've seen them fairly widespread again today. The area around Stroud has recorded falls in excess of 60 millimetres with flash flooding across the region. Tomorrow it's the northern and central inland, but then as we move into Wednesday and Thursday, we see widespread showers and thunderstorms returning to many of the currently flooded coastal districts.